Hello, everyone. It's the last weekend of May 2022, and this is the me and my wife show.
Hello.
Okay,
Yeah, this
so
very quickly developed into the wife and I show.
I went to see John Mulaney at Red Rocks. There was a surprise opener. It was Dave fucking Chappelle. The second he came on stage, I was scared. By the time he was done, I thought I was gonna throw up. My sister actually left and had a breakdown.
It's like how
Good luck surviving the transition.
Yeah,
we have
honestly.
a couple of those. We have a couple of those this
Yeah,
week where
this
it's
was
like
pretty
good
funny.
luck surviving the transition.
yeah. It's not gonna end well.
Cooking from scratch is ableist, and if you think everyone can do it, you're excluding a fucking vast amount of neurodivergent and disabled people who cannot cook for themselves and do not have people to do so. Not the government should give the people to do so, don't you think?
I mean,
Not to mention the fact that I have lived in more neighborhoods that had zero access to a grocery store than I have that had one. When I was living in Chandler, Arizona, the nearest store for me was an hour away, and we literally had to shop at 7-Eleven when our car broke down.
like, bitch, shut up, move. Like, what do you mean? Also, that totally includes you. Like, you are the type of person that just can't cook. You'd be eating like canned stuff for the rest of your life.
Monkeypox Inu has tanked after devs get away with over 400 million in exit scam.
Wait, I'm so confused. Why would anybody fall for a coin that's monkeypox inu?
I know, it's like, but it's like there's other coins that are like so obviously a joke that
Well, yeah.
like, have actually made people
But
money and
like
stuff.
this is just
Oh my
like the
goodness.
fact that they made 400 plus million on the exit scam
I
alone
know.
tells you how dumb people
This
are.
this was more than 10 times bigger than Squid Game coin.
Literally.
And
yeah.
literally the only reason is because the bubble has gotten that much bigger.
It's so ridiculous. Like the fact that people think that crypto is going to be the future. It's like, okay, but you can't have a crypto that you can't verify. Like you need like people think, oh, the government can't touch it. It's like the government has to touch it because if they don't, then you can't like people will just make off with your money like right away. You don't think so?
No, that's not really. I mean, let's not get into explaining how crypto works and stuff.
It doesn't matter how it works.
You can't control the drilling, shipping, storing, refining, buying, selling, trading, and taxing of oil. Then say you don't control oil prices. And then it has this missing context thing.
Yeah.
And then if you click the link, I should have opened it, but I didn't. But if you click it, it's like literally not even relevant.
Yeah,
it's talking
not
about
relevant
it's talking
at all.
about how like something about like energy independence and like how we are a net exporter of oil and shit like that. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't relate to this.
It has nothing to do with the context of the meme itself.
Yeah, it's bait and switch. There's so much. This is the era of bait and switch.
Yeah, honestly.
Students. OMG, why do schools teach us subject instead? Why don't they teach us about taxes instead? Students of schools caught tax.
Literally,
tax.
though.
But what if they just actually simplified the tax code so people could actually understand the system that they're fucking living in?
I mean, when I first started doing taxes on my own, like I couldn't pay someone to do my taxes, so I had to do it myself. I just went to H&R Block and followed whatever shit they had on their forms and stuff, and maybe I was missing out on money, but it's like if I could figure it out without theoretically any intervention or like real understanding of what the fuck was going on. I mean,
but why do you have to jump through hoops to get your own money back in the first place?
That's true. That doesn't make any sense.
And income tax was supposed to be temporary. It was brought in World War I. So
yeah,
this tax system has become this like mutant octopus with just tentacles everywhere and just crippling the economy.
There's a lot of taxation.
That's why they have to
shouldn't exist.
That's part of the reason why they have to keep printing more and more money. It's because the
taxation
the economy's crippled by taxation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Taxes now. Millionaires call on the global elite to tax them more. So it's almost as if increasing taxes benefits the rich, because they get all of the money that the government spends.
Yeah, that's literally
even when the government spends on poor people, they make sure that it goes straight back to the elites. So,
yeah, like you can, for example, you could point to CBC and them getting funding for that reason. It's the same thing. Like
it's like during COVID, every 30 seconds a new billionaire was made.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
this more taxes means more wealth inequality, which means more wealth for the elite, and that's why they're in favor of it.
So how do you feel about tax the rich then, specifically?
But you can't tax the rich because they'll just tax you because they're rich because we rely on them.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're able to explain that because a lot of people don't understand that concept at all.
Barack Obama actually tweeted this.
Yeah, I literally thought this was a joke. Like
As-
I genuinely thought that this was a hoax.
Barack Obama, as we grieve the children of Uvalde today, we should take time to recognize that 2 years have passed since the murder of George Floyd under the knee of a police officer. His killing stays with all of us to this day, especially those who loved him.
This man literally just tanked his own whatever political career he had left.
Like imagine if you're one of the parents that got arrested for
Yeah.
trying to get into the school while the shooting was happening, while the SWAT team refused to enter because they
Yeah.
were fucking scared.
Yeah, it was fucking pathetic. And then he says this shit. He literally minimizes the death of 19 children and says that George Floyd, someone who was a felon and also someone that pointed a gun at a pregnant woman, is somehow more important just because he started a movement that the movement really shouldn't have been based off of this person at all.
Yeah.
Like there was way better candidates they could have picked from.
Yeah.
Like actual kids that have been gunned down. Like you could have picked that child, but no, you picked some random man who was fucking high as hell while this was occurring, and then just completely ignore the fact that he shot himself up with so much fentanyl at the time that he literally died from that and not really from the kneeling on his neck.
Just like I don't think that you're going to be tweeting about the children of Uvalde in 2 years from now.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, oh, it's been 2 years since Uvalde and then 4 years since George Floyd.
Yeah, like this was so poorly presented and written that it's like, I know you have a PR person, so what the fuck made the PR person think this specifically was okay?
Gas prices are $2.47 in Newfoundland and $2.98 for diesel. So we're definitely going to see $3 this year or at the very latest next year, but in Ontario,
least.
in here, like in this area.
Well, that's just it. A lot of people didn't even believe that we could hit 2, and now people are freaking the fuck out. And it's like, well, we tried to tell you.
I'm pretty sure you even said that that was an ambitious prediction
at the time
that I
because
made it.
you had predicted it more than a year ago. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that seems a little sus because more than a year ago, we were still seeing like around $1, shockingly. So I was like, okay, I'm not sure if it's going to head that direction specifically. I mean, all of the stars had to align in order for that shit to happen anyway. But if you're able to look at the signs,
I think even without the Ukraine war, we still would have had $2 by
eventually,
by the end of this year.
Yeah,
like I said.
most likely, yeah.
U.S. stocks rally as Fed minutes meet expectations. So basically, they're slightly uncrashing because the central bank, has come out and said, "Oh no, we're not going to actually raise interest rates overly aggressively. Like we actually need to fight inflation." Like the market was starting to suspect, oh, inflation's getting pretty high. Looks like the Fed's going to have to maybe get pretty aggressive in order to actually fight this inflation, since they're talking about being serious about fighting inflation. And then they had to basically walk it back and be like, oh no, don't crash the stonks. It's not going to be overly aggressive. Like, like
even though they're lying about the inflation rate.
By the way, what they mean by overly aggressive is raising interest rates by 0.75% in the face of this 10% inflation. That's really 18%. So overly aggressive wouldn't have even fought the inflation rate anyway. So that's the whole point. The point is the Fed is not going to even bother actually trying to fight inflation because they can't.
Yeah, they literally can't. They're going to put up a facade to the public and make it seem like they are fighting it because that's technically their job.
They're going to roll over and play dead because that's what they've always done. If they were going to fight inflation,
they actually gave a shit.
If they were actually going to fight inflation, they would have fought it much sooner when they were saying that it was transitory.
Yeah. Maybe even sooner
because they want to say like, oh, nobody could have seen that it wasn't going to be transitory, but literally anybody who knew anything was predicting that it wasn't going to be transitory, except for the propagandists in the financial media and at the central bank and in the government. And so actually the only, there actually is, I think, a good counter argument for maybe the Fed actually getting more aggressive eventually and actually fighting inflation and hiking. They would have to hike interest rates up to like 20% at least in order
Yeah.
to tame this inflation. And keep in mind, most of the inflation is still flowing down the pipe.
Yeah.
So the idea is that now that Powell has been selected for a second term, he's just recently been basically reconfirmed for a second term. And before that, there was like constant talk about whether he was going to become replaced with someone more progressive and easy and stuff like that. And so he got a second term, and then he's talking like now he's going to do whatever it takes to fight inflation. But the question is, does he actually know what it will take? And like once he finds out what it'll take, will he actually follow through with it? But the idea is maybe yes, because maybe now Jerome Powell cares about his legacy. He doesn't want to be remembered as the one who fucked everything up. Because otherwise, why would he even agree to take a second term if he wasn't going to try to make a good legacy out of it? Because by the time his second term is starting, it's becoming very clear that they had already made a mistake previously. Right?
Yeah.
So it's,
I don't know.
It's hard to
hard
think
to
about.
say.
It's hard to think about.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it could just be another Doug Ford situation where he flip-flops until the end, even though he's worried about his reputation. But the same thing happened with Ford, right? Like Ford literally desperately wanted to save his reputation, and it's just a mess.
Yeah. China wants 10 Pacific nations to endorse sweeping agreement. So basically, this is the time for everybody to be making enemy lists of each other, and that includes countries. And Solomon Islands, Kiribati, Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, Vanuatu, Papua New Guinea, we're going to eventually have to topple all of these governments, and basically these countries have fucked themselves. Like Armenia did before they got completely destroyed by Azerbaijan by trying to be woke and against Putin. Like they were like pretending like they were actually geostrategically capable of having those kind of balls. This is the time. These are the times when countries have forgotten that they don't want to fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
And also, these are 7, and the other 3 are Cook Islands, Niue, and Micronesia. And Cook Islands and Niue are like literally part of New Zealand, and Micronesia is like basically part of America. So what the hell is going on? Anyways, alliances are forming. TDSB votes in favor of making admissions process by specialized programs based on interest.
Which is fucking stupid.
The TDSB said it would use a random selection process or a lottery if interest exceeds available space, because that's what it's going to take to basically make it gender equal and race equal. Are you fucking kidding me?
Like, piss off. The reason why it's not like that to begin with is because you have to show the actual, not just the interest, but like the ability to do the program. Like, that's kind of the whole fucking point. That's like saying someone can go into a specialized or like, I don't know, fucking higher academic type situation or education based on the fact that they're just interested in it. You're going to see a lot more people failing out and wasting resources.
But there's no such thing as failure in art, because it's
which is stupid. Okay, don't try to pass me the fucking participation ribbon.
And the government and left-wing governments are just constantly just shoveling money into the arts anyway.
Which I'm annoyed with, very annoyed with. Unless you have a genuine like interest in that and have the ability to do well, then forget it.
What does that even mean?
It means that if you have the ability to, I don't know how to describe it. Like if you have a talent in it and you actually genuinely like it, then do it. But if you don't have a talent in it, just because you like it doesn't mean you're good for it.
Yeah, but the point of, you didn't read the article. The point of the article is that the people who are more able to compete for these admissions are people who have like more resources to have like been tutored and shit like that. That's what the point of the thing is.
No, not necessarily, because I did just fine without any help.
anyways, mid-sized farms vanishing act. So they overregulate farms, so all the smaller farms basically die. And yet they're gonna say larger and fewer farms may represent a risk, but Canada is a free country. It's not a free country when the government has basically destroyed all of the little guys. It seems unlikely that a province would impose a cap on farm size or pass rules to discourage consolidation.
But they're already doing that.
Also, creating programs that support mid-sized farmers don't discriminate against larger operators is not easy.
What? Like, what? Okay.
Spain initiates, this should read electricity rationing, and that's gonna be coming to North America as well. So be ready for that. Don't rely on your freezer for your food supply. Cracks in US economy start to show as recession warnings mount. So what you see here is the expected growth rate is just going down and the expected inflation rate is going up. So what you have is stagflation. But I thought that a slowing growth rate and a recession is going to stop inflation, but clearly not. Like if the market is expecting both decrease in growth and an increase in inflation. And now in expected inflation rate for the medium term is almost up to 6%, which is, you know, a joke metric, but it's pretty high for being that metric. Polling data indicates New Blue Party has strength in Southwest Ontario and could win seats. So the Green Party is actually slated to win in Parry Sound and Muskoka. And if you look at various polling numbers, it looks like the New Blue Party is slated to do much better than you would have expected based on it being a brand new party.
Well, I don't know if it was what you expected. The signs are everywhere. There's quite a few people that actually support them, especially online.
That's good. Don't vote for the Ontario party. That's
Don't.
stupid.
They're stupid.
Mike Schreiner, Ontario Green Party leader Mike Schreiner, did a whole press conference while wearing a mask.
Yeah.
That's sane.
Yeah.
And this is the thing from earlier. New Blue Party, Echo's poll has them at 5% from a couple of days ago.
Honestly, it's kind of interesting that the New Blue Party is catching up to Green Party real fast.
So these are the least worst. These are still the most worst, the Liberals. The Red Party, that must be destroyed. Now this is an older article I pulled out to make a point. March 9, 2022. UK Prime Minister rules out windfall tax on energy firms. Okay. Because why? He dismissed calls to impose a windfall tax on oil company profits and use their revenue to help consumers struggling with energy bills. The net result of that would simply be to see the oil companies put their prices up yet higher, Johnson said today, adding that a windfall tax on profits would hamper efforts to reduce reliance on Russian oil and gas. That is the way forward for this country, is to take a sober. So he understands that the windfall tax does not help consumers and it doesn't help reduce reliance on Russian oil and gas, right? So he understands that the tax doesn't work and he rules it out on March 9th.
Yes.
So then obviously on May 26th, the UK introduces a temporary windfall tax of 25% on oil and gas profits. But it's going to be temporary. There's nothing.
That's what they say.
There's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. Don't forget that.
Do you want to explain what a windfall tax is?
So basically, the oil and gas sector is making extra money because the prices are going higher. So they should be using that extra money to invest in more oil projects to increase the supply of oil to help the price go down. But instead, the government comes in and says, oh, looks like you're making a lot of money there. It doesn't seem all that fair for you to be making all of that money there. And then just takes it.
Yep.
and so
classic, honestly, first of all, classic UK taxation.
The whole point of this whole like free market thing is like, okay, there's a shortage of something, price goes up.
Yeah.
So then the companies make more money. So the company can invest in making more of it because they want to make more money. So they make more of it and the price goes down and everybody has more of a thing that was in shortage of. But instead, now you have a shortage of something, prices go up,
Mhm.
companies make more money, government taxes all of that away. So there's never any investment and the shortage is never fixed.
Yeah.
And and they know that.
Of course,
They
they know
prove-
that they're the government.
That was the previous article. That's why they proved that they know how this works because
Yeah.
they literally explained how this tax would not help anyone.
Mhm. And yet here they are. Because
Oh, but they're gonna help. They're gonna give a $1,000 one-time payment to the 8 million of the UK's poorest people.
wow,
You
what do
literally,
fucking do?
you literally understand, like this literally March, this is like 2 months ago, you literally explained how that exact thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
So they're lying to you, basically.
Yeah.
And speaking of lying to you, this is another
Yeah.
old article that I pulled to make a point, July 15, 2021.
Yeah.
We're not going to have a split society. Doug Ford rules out a provincial vaccine passport.
Yeah.
Notice the
I remember
wording.
seeing this too.
Notice the wording. Rules out used to be the wording that would be used for like the most certain, like
Yes.
nobody would want to
Permanent decision.
nobody would want to rule anything out. The whole thing would be politicians
Yeah.
would constantly be saying, oh, I don't want to rule anything out
Yeah.
because you don't know.
Yeah.
But now we're just lying. We're just ruling everything out and then doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Look at this. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said in the strongest terms yet Thursday that the province will not create a vaccine passport that would allow people to signal to businesses and other organizations that they have not been vaccinated.
Yeah.
He literally did that.
Yeah. But mind you though, Ford is known for flip-flopping like this. It made
Yeah,
it
but-
very evident over the last year that that's exactly what he does.
Okay, so Boris
It's the
Johnson.
same thing.
Okay,
with
so Boris Johnson is known for flip-flopping on things.
Yes, this is
Kathleen
true.
Wynne was known for flip-flopping on things.
Yes.
Justin Trudeau is known for flip-flopping on things.
Yes.
So what
It
is
means-
the what is the common theme here? It's
They
like
don't have a backbone. That's the fucking problem.
it's not
that
that Ford's
and also the government has shit on them, or well, not necessarily shit on them, but they're fucking frontmen. Like
what I'm saying is it's not just Doug Ford. It's like a whole thing. How much different generations estimate they need to save to retire comfortably? So millennials, they probably expect to live, like retire at 65 and live until 80, right?
I guess that's a
So that's-
reasonable expectation.
So that's 15 years, right?
Sure.
So they think they can retire with $300,000. And so what is 300,000 divided by 15? That's $20,000. So you think with inflation and everything, you're going to get to 65 years old, millennials. You're born in like fucking 1986. You
Mhm.
think you can get to when you're 65? So when is that? That is 2051. You think you're going to get to 2051 and then be able to live 15 years on $20,000 a year?
Mhm.
That seems a little bit unlikely.
It really depends on your situation. I mean, this is assuming that the currency doesn't collapse.
Okay, let's say it's even in today's dollars. Okay,
Yeah.
$300,000.
Yeah. It's not.
$300,000 in today's dollars. You're gonna live for 15 years on $20,000 a year,
Yeah. No.
potentially as a like.
As a couple, definitely not. Single, maybe. Like it's possible. It depends on like what kind of shit you.
And how are you
eat
even gonna retire with this much anyway? At this
You would
point?
also need a really low like say you already own a house and you like own it, right? Like you're done making mortgage payments, then maybe. But otherwise, no. Forget vacations.
Could not a gas station runs out of gas as prices dip for the long weekend? So I have another article about it here. So what happened was in Ottawa, power outages made it so that you couldn't go to the gas station.
Yeah.
So think about this. What you need gas in order to fuel the vehicles so that people can go out and fix the power outage. So imagine if you have a shortage of gas or a power failure, you could have this vicious cycle where you need gas to fix the electricity, but you need electricity to get the gas.
Yeah.
And I don't know why nobody else is reporting this
Well, of course not.
Nobody else
'Cause-
is reporting the story, even though I saw this on an
Because it's
interview.
too real. That's the problem.
But this is from a CBC interview, and nobody, like, this is literally from a CBC interview. So I don't know why nobody else is writing this article about, Ottawa power outages affecting gas stations.
Well, it's probably because the situation was minuscule in comparison. Like you'll probably find a lot of it written in like local papers in Ottawa.
But you think like when there's a surge in power failures for whatever reason, you think the utility companies have enough diesel to be able to sustain
no,
themselves for very
be-
long without gas stations? They need those
No.
gas stations. So if they can't fix the power enough by the time they run out of gas, then they're gonna have to get the gas shipped in from somewhere else. That's
Yeah.
assuming that anywhere else even has gas by that point.
Yeah.
So you can
Like-
quickly see how this can create a cascading like domino
Yeah,
effect, and
basically.
basically we get stuck in a collapse situation, basically. And
Yeah. And all it took was a fucking storm.
and there were many peoples throughout history that had to live in the ruins of their ancestors. This is just a joke. AOC confirms her longtime boyfriend is pregnant with her child. And
The original title was like marrying him or whatever. And it's just funny because all of these types that are super left and claiming like tax the rich and like fuck white people, they're all married to white people. So yeah, I really liked this meme take. I thought it was pretty funny because it's like right up her alley in terms of preaching shit she shouldn't be preaching.
Well, I just included this so I could say no, I got the vote.
Yeah.
This is from the blue check priesthood of today's modern era.
Yep.
May 10th, there's plenty of baby formula, you dumb MAGA sheeple tweeting another dumb Russian propaganda trend. Literally 7 days later, wait, what? Instead of complaining and blaming someone else for the baby formula shortage and doing nothing, my president took care of it, president with a capital P, and he made things better for people instead of worse. Imagine that, MSM. So Germany sent you some baby formula shortage because you sent all of your baby formula to the border. Thanks,
Yeah.
my president with a capital P.
Honey, your president sent it to the border because he's a fucking moron.
Your president knew that this was going to happen for months
Yeah,
and just
he
didn't
knew.
do enough about it.
Like you're just okay. Drink the
And also,
Kool-Aid
your
from the-
president is the primary buyer of baby formula
Yeah.
from the baby formula monopoly, oligopoly in your country. So
I mean, nice try.
there's no baby formula shortage. Biden solved the baby formula shortage. The racist history of celebrating the American tomboy.
Oh God!
Why are
I
so
thought
many
this shit was
tomboys drawn to
ridiculous.
fascism? Tomboys were a trend 100 years ago, but mostly to bring up the birth rate for white babies.
No.
How does that even work? How does that
Literally
last-
doesn't make sense.
How does that last
physically.
one literally even work? Anyways, we usually don't do videos, but I wanted to show this video because it relates so well to that.
Congress set out on a mission to solve racism. And after calling every single thing racist, we might be done. You know, we found a way to call milk racist, hockey racist, football racist, camping, math, gyms, AI, computers, robots, grocery stores. I guess there's nothing really left for us to call racist, so we're closing up shop. We called gay men racist, lesbians racist, knitting, scuba diving, archery, dentistry. We called dogs racist, meat eaters racist, vegans racist, buildings, Latinos, Chinese people, Dr. Seuss, Dr. Phil, chess. We called soda racist, glasses. I don't know if we necessarily need an award, but if we get an award, if an award comes our way, we'll take the award. Yeah. You know, were there times when I thought about giving up? Of course.
So these like anti-racist types, they just want to deconstruct and dismantle everything just because they are unhappy
Yeah.
with themselves.
Realistically, they don't even know that that's what they want to do. They don't
Yeah,
even know that
it's like a
that's the goal.
subconscious impulse
Yeah.
to just destroy everything because you're unhappy with yourself.
Yeah.
It's literally like the Cain and Abel story.
Mhm.
The strip club is sadly a leading indicator, and I can promise y'all we are in a recession, LMAO. Me getting stock alerts just to decide whether it's worth it to go to work. nah, for real, reading all these articles, journalists and economists are like, we're not in a recession. We might not even get one this year or next. Like the club is dead, babe. What do you mean?
Yeah. I thought that
literally,
shit was so funny.
literally, that's literally true.
Yeah, it's like, dude, if the strippers know.
Yeah, you're not, the propaganda can only fool people for so long before people start to see what's happening in the real fucking world.
Mhm.
When my whale clients are asking what bottles are on special, you know we have a problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, if the strippers know, you're doing something wrong.
Trump gets banned by Twitter. Xi Jinping bans Twitter. The supreme leader bans Twitter in his country, has a Twitter account anyway, posts stuff against community guidelines, still not banned.
I thought the shit was funny.
7 TikTok dances you can do to save Roe v. Wade.
I'm pretty sure that was a meme, but still, someone would have wrote that at some point.
At least 8 dead, thousands without power after fierce storm hits Ontario and Quebec. So, you know,
There was a lot of wild footage of
This-
this. Actually, to be honest, a lot of people were being really dumb by filming this stuff. But
well, all of the systems are not exactly designed to be resilient. So they're not exactly systems you want to rely on, especially as
true.
we head into this transitional period where, so this year we're having all sorts of abnormal, like atmospheric anomalies. And so
Yeah.
that's why you're having like unusual weather patterns and record wind speeds like all
Yeah.
across the world this year.
I mean, we talked about it before. Tonga being like one of the major contributors to why shit is getting fucked up.
Yeah, so
But that's not the only thing, right? Like, yeah, people were shocked by this and they were like, oh my God, it's so scary. It's like, well, if you had read an article or two or paid attention,
so this
then
is,
you'd know.
this stuff is going to happen more. So it just shows you that you can't, you have to be cognizant about your resilience to the municipal water system,
Yeah.
the municipal, you know, like the utilities, the tree clearing. You have to, you
Mhm.
should be cognizant in terms of what you are, in ways in which you're dependent. But nowadays, these days, everybody's pretty much dependent in like every way. So it's impossible to keep track of all the ways that you're dependent, but that doesn't absolve you of your responsibility to be
Yeah.
aware of your dependence on systems and
Well, that's
their,
just it though. The system is set up in a way to make people feel like they can rely on the system,
yeah.
right? So it's like this cat and mouse.
But this is the whole
game.
thing. This is the whole thing with living in a fantasy world, is it's not going to protect you from the truth.
Of course not.
You can
But
believe,
people are going to be tricked into believing that anyway, right? So it's just a matter of waking the fuck up and maybe getting out of the city, you know, get out of a place where it's purely reliant on a system, because as soon as that system's gone, you're fucked. So
food insecurity expert predicts that there's only 10 weeks of wheat supplies left in the world.
which is a really scarily low number.
Maybe it's 9 weeks now, because 2 weeks before this, it was 12 weeks.
Well,
because it was 90
at least
days.
it's on track.
So we lost 2 weeks of the world's supply in 2 weeks. It's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
But anyways, so we got 10 weeks of wheat supply. It'll probably last us a little bit longer. I would try to be ready by Labor Day if I were you.
Maybe sooner.
Yeah, maybe sooner. But Labor Day by the latest. But at least you should be ready for about 6 months of troubles by September, right?
At least, yeah.
Tesla is kicked off an index for socially responsible companies while Exxon remains. So Tesla no longer socially responsible, Exxon still socially responsible because the elites say so. So
Yeah.
ESG is about trying to make companies more socially responsible, but it's really just about controlling your life through the companies, because your life is controlled by corporations, and the corporations would now be controlled by the government because they have to be socially responsible according to the government. So Tesla, literally, what they do is literally make electric cars, but they're not socially responsible because their CEO, with his personal money, decided to go after the fact that Twitter is a complete sham.
Mm.
So because he went after their propaganda machine, his green car company is no longer socially responsible. It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
This is funny how this works. LGBTQ advocates fear monkeypox stigma could spread like a virus.
Oy vey.
If you're wondering what's going on with that, nearly 200 cases of monkeypox in more than 20 countries now.
Which is, it's kind of whatever, to be honest. Like, who cares?
Federal government posed 95.6 billion deficit for the fiscal year that just ended 2 months ago. So when Trudeau got elected, he promised that he would have 3 deficits of 10 billion and then $0 deficit from then on. And
Like, first of all, don't believe any politician that says that shit.
And then within 1 year of getting into office, his budget projection was $55 billion deficits until 2050.
Yeah,
So that was the plan then. And now we have 95 billion deficits.
yeah,
So the plan is to run these deficits forever until the system collapses. Okay?
essentially, yeah.
So the days are numbered. The government is running out of different things that it can do to keep the plates spinning.
Yeah, and whose fault is
Don't even
that?
read that. Iran seizes 2 Greek tankers in Persian Gulf as tensions rise. So Iran just sent helicopters to pirate 2 Greek ships filled with oil.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Nice.
Liberals to review Supreme Court decisions. So the Supreme Court decided that Alexander Bissonnette, the guy who killed 6 people in a Quebec City mosque, it was unconstitutional for him to have a 40-year sentence and he could only have a 25-year sentence.
Okay.
Stephen Harper passed a law that would allow, so what happens is your parole eligibility for first-degree murder is automatically 25 years, and Harper made it so that you could have the 25 years go like one after another so that it could be more than 25 years for more than one count. And so different people, there were these 3 different cases of mass murderers who got sentenced to 75-year parole eligibility because of that. But Alexander Bissonnette, his sentence of 40 years it's unconstitutional. So therefore, the Toronto van attack guy who killed 10 people, he was convicted last year, but he hasn't been sentenced yet. And now, because his sentencing has to be under these new Supreme Court guidelines, he is only going to be able to get a 25-year parole eligibility as well.
Yep.
Which is just a sign of a healthy system, I guess. Anyways, Patrick Brown and Pierre Poilievre said that they would invoke the notwithstanding clause to overwrite the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to basically overrule the Supreme Court on this.
Yeah. See, this is where you can enact that type of deal, not when you want to not talk to protesters.
Uvalde student covered herself in classmates' blood, played dead to survive shooting. So this is this
I
shooting
heard
is
about this.
really tragic. Like just the police the SWAT team being too scared to actually go in and save the fucking students.
Which is fucking pathetic
The-
because
the
they're trained to go towards gunfire.
Yeah, the police arresting the parents trying to go in and save the
Yeah, like
students.
fuck off.
Like what the hell is going
What are
on?
you doing?
The society that keeps generating these mass murders. You think there was no mass murderers in Rome because they didn't have enough arrows?
Yeah, like come on.
Like there's a problem with the society that keeps creating mass murderers.
There was a really interesting conversation that I had seen somewhere where the statistics found that there was less mass shootings while Trump was president, and while Obama was president and while Biden has been president, they have shot like right back up for some weird fucking reason. It's like maybe we should look into that. I don't know.
No, but ban the guns. That'll do it.
Yeah, that always works.
That'll stop the illegal guns.
Yes.
That'll stop
100%.
You know, there's like illegal operations that manufacture guns, right? You know, you actually can take metal and turn it into guns.
People desperately want to be Japan and they just can't. It's like, okay.
But it's like even in Japan, like
you still have illegal weapons in Japan. Like that's still a thing. Like you can't just ignore the black market like that. It will always be lucrative no matter what.
It's just if you the more you ban guns, the more lucrative you make it to make
Exactly.
illegal guns.
Like
or
look
bring
at
illegal
the
guns.
war on drugs and how that fucking went in America. It's the same thing. If you do the same
And
thing.
ironically, the war on terror created more terrorism. too.
Exactly. Exactly. So when you have these fucking leftists in power screaming ban guns, more guns happen to be on the fucking market. So
Yeah.
it's just it's fucking pathetic.
Hopefully,
really.
their war on people also results in more people.
Well, I don't know.
Hopefully, they're so incompetent that they can't even depopulate the earth.
I mean, men can get pregnant now, so
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. Twice the births. Anyways, that's gonna be all for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and see you again next week. If where did the stop button go?
I don't know, somewhere.